My name is Sheila Kuehl. It's hard to say what people know me best for because I may walk down the street and someone may say, "Hey, look, Marge, there's Zelda from the Dobie Gillis Show." Or, "Hey, look, Marge, there's our state senator." But I was the first out gay or lesbian person elected to the state legislature in California. When I was 18 and going to UCLA, I decided to join the group of students that were counselors at this wonderful camp. I fell in love with one of the women counselors. There was nothing in my background that would help me see that there were other people like me. None. Therefore, I felt very isolated, very lonely. There were no positive images. There were no positive reinforcements. There was nothing positive about falling in love with a woman, except being in love, fireworks and flash, and you can't tell anybody. Now, I was fortunate because the woman I was in love with was also in love with me, but we couldn't tell anybody and never did tell anybody. So I don't remember anything but anxiety and fear that someone would find out. There was a fledgling gay movement, but most of us knew nothing about it. There was no way to learn about things. The access we have to information now is so incredible. In those days, it was not like that. There were maybe books, but if you even bought the book or checked it out of the library, it could be very dangerous. I think the turning point for me was the turning point for the country when young people in the 60s started saying, there's something wrong going on. So I didn't go right from television into politics. Actually, I was the first person in Southern California to teach a class on gender and law. And my life took a very different turn. I was madly in love with the law. I love the law. And we started a very, very strong movement in California. And there was a very small group of us drafting laws on the very early laws against domestic violence in California and indeed in the country. So I got involved locally and then in a state coalition, then in a national coalition. And before I knew it, I was one of the people drafting laws, at least for the West Coast. My assembly member was going to be termed out, and I thought, I could do that. I mean, if they can do it, I can do it. I called Park Skelton, who is a man who does campaigns, and I had known him because he had done a number of progressive campaigns in the west side of LA. And I said, I want to run, and he said, okay. And I said, do you think a lesbian can win? And he said, I don't know. So they did a few polls. Most people thought it was irrelevant. That's what the poll showed. But I was the first out gay or lesbian person elected to the state legislature in California. And there's a bunch of fundamentalist Christians that just joined the assembly that I just joined. I'm the only one out of 80 people in the state assembly. But I'm funny. And I have to tell you, if you ever want to get through a really hard situation, just be funny. So I picked out the biggest homophobe on the floor, and I had heard that he made a big speech, anti-gay speech, the year before I went up there. And I went over to him and I said, David, hi, I'm Sheila. And I gave him a big hug. And he was like totally stunned. And I said, don't worry, it's not catching. And I walked away. And we were actually sort of friends after that, because if they can scare you, that's what they really want to do. If they can make you hate yourself, that's what they really want to do. And by then, I really liked who I was. I really felt it was incumbent on me to have the gay and lesbian voice at the table with authenticity. So I started a bill to protect gay and lesbian students, or just students who were thought to be kind of non-conforming for their gender. The bill was very difficult to get through. Even my Democratic colleagues were afraid to vote for it. This seems very strange now. And sometimes when we had these debates on the floor, and the Republicans, not all of them, but some of them were pretty mean, and they would be making these speeches, some of my colleagues would come and just stand around my chair to make sure that I didn't feel alone. I felt, really welcomed. And I would say 90% of everything that's happened to me since I came out has been truly positive.